Hi everyone, this is Julie. Thank you for stopping by for another video today. I hope you're having a fantabulous day today. And this video is based on an article I saw posted on Yahoo. And of course, it seems the source is Fortune. But the title of the article is Ultra-Processed Foods Are Driving Premature Deaths. Here are 4 common culprits. So that's the title of the article, and I thought it was interesting, and I would just go through it here. And this is not something new. We have known for a long time that these processed foods, and some of them are highly processed, that they are not healthy and that they bring with them a lot of consequences that we are often told is insignificant, as at least we have been hearing that in some instances for a long time. But now people have to face the reality because people know what is happening and know that these foods are causing a lot of harm. And so we'll get into this article. Ultra-processed foods are getting a lot of attention. Research links them to cancer, heart disease, inflammation, cognitive decline, and diabetes. Meanwhile, U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his cohort warn against the dangers of food with more than 5 ingredients. Kennedy himself has claimed, quote, highly chemical processed foods, end quote, are the chief culprit behind an epidemic of chronic disease in the U.S. And that is true. A lot of the foods are highly processed. And not just highly processed, there are lots of chemicals that are used in the processing of these foods. And it's detrimental to the health. It goes on to say, but new research suggests that in addition to chronic disease, ultra-processed foods may be driving premature deaths. A recent study published in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine showed that higher consumption of ultra-processed foods, UPFs, is significantly linked to increased premature deaths between ages 30 and 69. Analyzing data from 8 countries including Australia, Brazil, Canada, Chile, Colombia, Mexico, UK, and US, found that each 10% rise in UPFs proportion to total caloric intake raised all-cause mortality risk by 3%. In countries with the highest UPF consumption like the US, up to 14% of premature deaths are attributable to UPFs, and that is, as we mentioned, ultra-processed foods. According to the study, for instance, researchers found that in 2018, 124,000 premature deaths in the U.S. were due to the consumption of ultra-processed foods, the UPFs. And let me tell you, I don't know what these statistics are not even correct, because it's way worse than this. Because there's no way you can say this when it is a lot of these ultra-processed foods that are driving the chronic diseases. It goes on to say UPFS affects health beyond the individual impact of high content of sodium, trans fat, and sugar because of changes in food during industrial processing and use of artificial ingredients including colorants, artificial flavors and sweeteners, emulsifiers, and many other additives and processing aids, said investigator of the study Eduardo Augusto Fernandez Nelson. So assessing deaths from all cause associated with UPF consumption allows an overall estimate of the effect of industrial food processing on health. Industrial food processing is one of the worst things that happen to food. It allowed them to change the food from its original form to something that is unrecognizable. And they're able to trick people's taste bud into loving these foods. In fact, when they are non-food in many respects, because they have been changed to such a degree. Continuing, 4 ultra-processed foods to avoid. Ultra-processed foods are commonly defined under a classification known as NOVA, defining them as containing additives and undergoing significant alterations from their natural state. They tend to be calorie dense, low in nutrients, and often have long shelf lives. While this study didn't look at individual foods' impact on premature death and mortality risk, another study from last year did. Those researchers found that the following foods were linked to the highest all-cause mortality risk. And these are processed meats. This is something that have been said time and time again. Processed meat, sugary and artificially sweetened beverages, dairy-based desserts, and ultra-processed breakfast foods like sugary cereals. Let me repeat the list. Processed meats, sugary and artificially sweetened beverages, dairy-based desserts, and ultra-processed breakfast foods like sugary cereals. In the study, researchers found that participants whose diet contains the highest proportion of UPFs at a 4% risk of all-cause mortality, as well as an 8% risk of mortality from neurodegenerative diseases, compared to those who ate the least processed foods. And this is one of the things, as I'm pointing out, this is one of the trick too, because giving these lower percentages also make people feel that it's okay. You know what? I only have a 4% chance, or it's only 4%. I'll take my chances. No, that is not true. That is not true. A lot of these foods that are being consumed is the reason so many people are getting Alzheimer's and dementia, all kinds of things happening in older age. We never used to have these rates time gone by because people were eating a lot of foods that were natural. And while getting older is a natural process of life, as long as you're living on this earth, every day you get older, every second. From the moment you were born, you're living to die. It might sound weird to say it, but that's the reality. But it doesn't mean that you're going to look and feel unhealthy. It doesn't mean that you're going to be living in pain. That should never be. You know, we live in a world where, accidents do happen. So some people might, because of accidents, they might die early or things of that nature, or they might be maimed, and such things will happen. But ordinarily, most people should die of natural causes, not because they're riddled in pain, not because they have all kinds of diseases, and not because they have lost their mind and their minds have deteriorated. And the food is largely responsible for that. The food and the medications that they're giving you and the vaccines that they're telling you that you must take from the moment you come out of your mother's womb. But that's another story. And I'm not really going to get into that too much in this video because they have removed about 20 videos already from Ital is Vital. This is where the article ends. Of course, they also have a link with some suggestions on other articles that you can read. And so I just wanted to point this out to people because for a long time in the natural health field, we have been saying this. Dr. Sebi has been saying things like this over time also for a long time. And many others have been saying the foods that we're eating, these highly processed foods, they're not good for the health. This is something that is known across the world. It has been observed time and time again how the population of a country change, how the people change, the level of obesity, and all of this occurred as the diet changed. It may seem like, oh, this is news, but has been known for a long time that these processed foods, and there's a lot of ultra processed foods on the market. And unfortunately, at this stage, so many people are addicted. So many are addicted to these foods. And if you've eaten any of these, whether you are growing up or when you became an adult or as an adult now, I've had experience with some of these foods. I know how addictive they can be. Just think, okay, I like this so much, it tastes so good, I have to have it, I have to have these chips, I have to have this soda pop. No, this thing is killing us. And I know some people look at it as, you know what, we're all going to die of something anyway, because I've heard people say that. But at least while you're here, try to live as healthily as possible. Don't be going out, losing your mind, not knowing, what you have become. For example, I saw a short video not too long ago where an elder lady, her caregiver, she came up to the lady and she spat in her face repeatedly. And people are saying, we're saying in the comments that it's, because mental health. I don't know, because the caption did not say mental health issues. And it's another story. I don't really want to go into that, because I think once you're in your right mind, there is absolutely no excuse for doing that. I don't care. If someone is aging and they don't have a mental, issue, a mental health issue or some neurodegenerative condition, there is no excuse for that. But that's digressing. But I just wanted to point to this article because it is important. Many people, this is what their children eat day in, day out. This is what their children eat from the moment they wake up till the time they go to bed. Ultra processed foods, and it's not good for them. And later in years, if not now, later, if they continue along the path, they will feel the effects of these foods. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think about this, the food addiction. And I'm not blaming the people per se, because I know that it is something that was orchestrated and something that was actually done to the people without knowledge. And when the people who are supposed to be the ones who tell you that this is good and that is not good and so on, because, like, for example, the FDA, by virtue of the authority that they have claimed, and saying that, okay, we're the scientists, we're the ones with the scientists, we're the ones with the experts, we're speaking on behalf of we're the ones with the doctors agree with us, or this or that and so on. And by virtue of their position, for them to come and say, oh, this is okay, why do you approve it, FDA? Why are you approving these things? Why are you saying that it's okay? Poison by any name is a poison. And unfortunately, many things that should fall under the label of poison is being labeled as food. And people ought to know and know what these things do to their health. And not only that, an effort must be made. It's one thing to point this out, but when you point it out and the country facilitate the manufacturing of such food and make it difficult for people to eat healthy, that's a problem. And so these are things that we need to ensure, is that government is making it easier for people to eat healthier. Because at this point in time, some people complain that, look, I would like to eat healthy, but I can't afford to eat healthy. It's not easy. And I'm not saying that anywhere you go in the world, it's necessarily going to be easy for you to get everything you want. However, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be in a position where you can try your best to do your best for yourself and your family. And I think that what is happening now, and it's not just in America, it's in many places, because because governments over the years have been forced to produce or not produce certain types of foods because they might owe money to the IMF and so on. And the IMF has been, unfortunately, meddling with what goes on in terms of agriculture and determining what country produce as foods and these kinds of things, which is ridiculous. It's unfortunate that as we look across the spans of the world, we see that in different places, even here in Africa too, certain policies of government or where it concerns food and agriculture, they're influenced by outsiders. They're influenced by outsiders to some degree or another. And that's just not right. And, more people have to return to the land because unfortunately, too many youngsters believe that agriculture is something negative. To be a farmer is something negative, is something to look down on. And some of our parents and grandparents have been the culprit in implanting these ideas, And so we have to see how best we can. Start from where you're at. And even if you're not in the best position to take the actions that you need for your health and in terms of what foods you can eat, just try your best. Look at where you're at and how you can slowly get out of that position. And maybe an item at a time, maybe you can begin to make changes. So guys, let me know what you think below. Oh, I'll put a link to the article below, so in case you want to read it for yourself or share it. And let me know what you think. And of course, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and be the change you'd like to see in this world. Have a fantabulous day today. Ta-ta!